What's a conspiracy theory you could make up right now? Vegetables aren't real. It makes sense with the amount of them that are fruit. The only reason why there are so many zombie movies is that the leader of the world want us to be prepared. They have different kind of movies for every strain of the virus. Aliens abduct cows because they need dairy products to survive. The yeast is still alive when the bread is done being made. The Rand Corporation, in conjunction with the Saucer people, under the supervision of the reverse vampires, are forcing our parents to go to bed early in a fiendish plot to eliminate the meal of dinner. Mayonnaise and ketchup makers are in a sauce war, and they really don't want you to mix the two sauces. Greta Thunberg is a time traveler. Banana Runts candy contain all the nutrients you need to live a long and healthy life. The government has known this for years, but refused to do anything about it because those things suck and no one eats them. Coronavirus was created and released by environmentalists to shut down wet markets and reduce global pollution. The Department of Justice announced today that the chair of Harvard University's Chemistry and Chemical Biology Department and 2 Chinese nationals have been charged in connection with aiding the People's Republic of China. Gun control is secretly pushed by the right to sell more guns, while at the same time encouraging it on the left so they won't buy guns and not be as much a threat to their control. Coronavirus was conjured up by dogs so they could spend more time with their humans. Trump's hair wig is actually an alien controlling him. The sensor on automatic flush toilets is actually a camera, and perverts pay to flush it for you after checking out your bits. Animals that are returning to the cities during the pandemic are just upgrade version of bird spies. The government is using the pandemic to make other animal spies/cameras. The spam calls you get with nobody on the other end of the line is actually the CIA using sonar to map the immediate location of the device. North Korea is killing its citizens who contract COVID-19 to prevent its spread. The US prison system is just new age slave labor. McDonald's all-day breakfast was part of a deal for chicken farmers to launder drug money. Ghosts moaning at night and being covered with sheets were invented by parents to stop curious kids from investigating when they have sex. Trump is deliberately alarming the population, saying that 100 to 200,000 people will die. When the total death toll turns out to be much lower, he will say it was due to his brilliant management to have more people vote for him. Pennies that you find on the street and pick up are actually bugs that the government listened to you with. They are the ones who started the saying that finding a penny is good luck, so they can listen into more conversations. COVID-19 is a scam to keep everyone inside so the one world government can go change all the batteries in the birds that are really spy drones. The pandemic stay-at-home orders are meant to prevent people from taking advantage of low gas prices resulting from the Saudi/Russia price war. Now that OPEC is meeting on Monday to stabilize production and oil prices, we should see the pandemic orders lifted next week. That the US government uses the Internet history metrics from the NSA to pick juries for cases they deem important, so that they can virtually determine what the verdicts will be ahead of time, i.e. putting a drug kingpin in jail. In the world's last-ditch effort to save the environment, scientists released a contagion that forces people to stay inside and use far less consumer products. This would ultimately lead to the collapse of the world's largest industrial polluters. The scientists knew that by making people sick, the environment would improve and stabilize habitable living conditions, which would guarantee the health and prosperity for future generations after they rebuilt society based on timeless wisdom of old philosophers. The new generation born after the great pandemic would be told stories about how close humans almost went extinct from the mutating contagion. When they look back to the future's history, they will be reminded to never poison the earth and to live in peaceful harmony and unity with nature, and never to take things for granted. The coronavirus started making headlines right as the world was starting to focus on the Chinese camps and their mistreatment of the Uyghur people. So, edit, since this is starting to get attention, let me clarify. I don't believe China developed or released a pandemic virus in order to distract the world from their atrocities. However, they are probably very glad that the attention shifted off of their human rights abuses. The coronavirus was actually spread by big anti-vax. They developed and want to implement a vaccine for corona that actually does cause autism so they can gain more support. One step backwards, two steps forwards for them. If you carefully go through the Wikipedia entry on Wuhan Institute of Virology, this facility was under construction from 2003 and fully developed on 2015. Some American biologists opposed this. How many such advanced labs are there in world and China? Teasingly, the Chinese researcher has found virus in cave bats far from Wuhan, in Yunnan well in advance 2012 to 2017 and was got paper published in the Nature. How frequently bat and illegal animal transportation occurs between two places. Why the virus outbreak started from the ground zero of Wuhan. Why Chinese researchers were trying to infect hybrid CoVs to heal out bats to mices. What were the purposes of such experiments? And what does Gilead has to do with COVID-19 and its drug called remdesivir? Why the virus in patients were 96% similar those in labs? What caused the mutation in the viruses? Is this mutation in is 4% of dissimilarities or is in 96% of genetic makeup of virus? What Shi's Hengli is hiding and refraining to answer? Why WIV has tie-ups with a lab and university in USA? What collaborations have been done in past? The entire anti-vax movement is based on a Cold War idea drafted by Putin in the 80s. His idea was to have Americans weaken their immune systems so that in the eventual World War III, American troops would be easier to defeat. When he came to power, he paid off a vaccine researcher as a scapegoat to invent the idea that vaccines cause autism. This would spread to the States and Americans would adopt this anti-vax movement. The scientist was later debunked, and in order to keep him silenced about Russia's involvement, he was further discredited by adding some plagiarism and review board violations regarding human experimentation. Russia is now working towards spreading the anti-vax movement so that future generations of soldiers will be weakened so he can take full control. Defeat Russian plots of world domination by vaccinating your kids.